This was the most coolest and the most awesome spiritual experience the Lord allowed me to experience, to do and feel.
I was standing on the moon, facing a field of enemies who were all as strong as Goku, but times a billion. I got ready to unleash my Kamehameha times a quadruple-flagellation beam. The quadruple-flagellation. Quad flig me. Logicked interrupted me. Hey, so are we gonna keep doing this video, or? I spun around to see who was talking to me. It was Logicked. How was he here, on the moon? I'd left him behind outside my office in the previous episode. No, you just put your hands in the air and said No, I didn't. I flew to the moon, I said. Then why are we standing outside your office? He pointed to the door of my office. It's because... I paused. My memory was foggy. Oh, right. I defeated all my enemies already and flew back. See the moon? I said, and pointed at the moon. No, Logicked said. Yeah, that's because we exploded it from sheer fight power, I said. That's incredible. Can we get back to the video now? Yes, I said. We've got a case to solve. I reverted to my normal form. My incredible power was no longer visible to the average dope, but Goku would still be well advised to tread carefully. Fernandez turned back into a houseplant and her boobs returned to normal houseplant boob size. She dropped her donut on the floor. I decided against eating it.
This was evidence that my spirit is angelic.
I'm not sure that angels do the Kamehameha wave, although I guess if you're just making them up, they can do whatever the hell you want them to.
But in the physical, I have my body of flesh. That's why I generated the Kamehameha wave in both the physical and spiritual world.
I'm not following your reasoning. Could you put it a little simpler for me?
I can't put it any simpler than that.
Then I guess I won't take it more seriously than that.
Kingship building with Jesus. Around this time, the Lord revealed that I was also King David of the Bible.
I looked up from my notepad with a raised eyebrow. I was starting to think we should just ask this guy who the Lord didn't reveal him to be. Otherwise, we'd be here all day.
And I was blessed to establish my kingdoms in heaven with the talents God gave me. I made hundreds of videos evangelizing the truth of God's existence, and I was getting my rewards.
I could tell. This cat had a lot going for him. Video games. And so on.
The Lord gave me talents, and I have increased the amount. The Lord has blessed me by allowing me to rule multiple cities that He has created.
I can't say for sure what you mean, but video game cities are created by game studios, not God. I want to make that clear.
This is exactly from the parable in Luke. Luke chapter 19, verse 15.
When was he going to get to the point? I skipped the parable.
We have to identify our gifts in the Lord and use them for His will. The Lord has given me 16 cities total.
I wanted this guy to tell me what cities they were. Maybe one was nearby. I could drive my bucket over there and talk to some of the locals. See if they'd ever heard of this Heart of Truth character.
I call them cities because they represent this parable. Because me and the Lord used this parable to establish them.
So you call them cities, but they're not cities then. Gotcha. Oh, and look at that. I called it. Video game cities. At least some of them are. And then you've got that pagoda overlooking Fujiyoshida City. Pretty sure you don't own that. And then there's London, Havana, Santorini. Yeah, I get the idea. So you established those cities, did you?
But these are my worlds. I have 16 worlds or lands. Some of them are exact copies of countries of this earth.
Oh, of course. Silly me. Of course they're just clones of London and Havana. I should have realized.
Because when the Lord comes back and reign for 1,000 years, the 144,000 will be the next rulers of the earth. And I am destined to rule Japan, China, Egypt, and so on.
You sure you're not going to rule clones of those countries? Well, alright, if you're going to rule all those countries, presumably plus the UK, where London is, and Cuba, where Havana is, and Greece, and a bunch of Final Fantasy shit, that means you get at least 6 real-life countries, and then the other 144,000 rulers have to split up the rest between them. That doesn't seem very fair. But then again, I guess you are like 3 Bible dudes all rolled into one, and also an angel, and also Goku from Dragon Ball, so, I guess you deserve it, because...
I remember while I was building kingdoms with the Lord. The Lord showed me Hyrule from Zelda, created from the dust of the ground in real life.
It seems a little pointless for God to make fan replicas of video game cities right before he ends everything, but I guess why not, right? It's not like he's got limited resources.
I will always remember that.
I sat on the curb, doodling in my notepad. I didn't understand a word these guys were saying. It had bothered me at first, but I'd gotten used to it. I looked at my picture. It was me as a dinosaur. Someday, I said.
And yesterday I saw my Hyrule city again in the spirit. The Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within you.
I don't think they meant it just pops out of your imagination, or even a Nintendo employee's imagination.
And my kingdoms is stored in heaven because they are my treasures. Store up your treasures in heaven, as it is written.
Back up your games to the cloud?
Gift of discerning spirits. Around this time, I have been seeing the spiritual after I've received my glorified body that looks like Goku. From that point on, I've been seeing spirits. At first, I did not know what was going on, but then I learned that God gave me the gift of discerning spirits.
Is this where we get into the gray alien dream demons from that other video?
When I first saw my first demons, I didn't have the spirit of fear. Their demons are real. Angels are real. I've seen a lot of angels. I've seen a lot of things spiritually because of my gift of discerning spirits.
If people haven't seen the Gray Aliens video, you might want to check it out. I'm pretty sure that's the gift of discerning spirits he's talking about, and what he means is he dreams about aliens.
The star that represents my gift of discerning spirits is Ichigo from Bleach.
Of course it is.
Which is one of my superhero forms.
Oh, you're a superhero too. Well, I guess Goku's already kind of a superhero. So, you're other superheroes too. How many superhero forms do you have?
I remember this one time.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. What have we got here? Anime. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's every anime character ever.
I remember this one time I felt Jesus's spiritual pressure right before I woke up.
Did someone say they felt spiritual pressure in their sleep? Not the time.
I know it sounds strange, but the Lord confirmed that my glorified body is Ichigo, who can also see spirits as well.
No, your glorified body was Goku. You cried about it. It was the greatest moment of your life, don't you remember?
Street Fighter. Okay, eventually I lost my car, so I had to take the fight of faith on the streets. The fight of the pride of life got harder for me because I chose to deny myself by walking for my needs on the streets instead of using a bus or bicycle.
Wow, that's a total waste of time. How'd you lose your car? I want to hear that story. Did you accidentally shoot it with a Kamehameha wave?
I remember one night while I was in the spirit, I felt the Hado. Hado is real. God gave me the gift of Hado.
Man, how many magic handbeam things do you need?
It was exactly like what Ryu said from the movie Assassin's Fist. He said that the Hado he feels is like a cool wave that is everywhere and nowhere. God is everywhere and nowhere. The Lord is the invisible God. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 6.
That made me look up from my latest doodle of Fernandez in a donut glazed bikini. I skipped the Bible quote and went back to my drawing.
In Street Fighter 2 V, Ryu was able to master the Hado because he had to visualize an opponent in his mind. And my opponent is the pride of life. This is my Goliath in this generation.
Cool, so you've got your opponent visualized, however you happen to visualize pride. Okay, great. Now grab your phone, do your energy beam from your hands trick, just into the sky, into the ocean, something like that. No need to get dangerous with it, and let's see what you got.
I willingly chose not to ride a bus or use a bicycle for years so I can walk worthy of my calling, the calling of the Hado.
You don't believe that when God gave it to you directly, that meant you were worthy of it? That's interesting.
I felt it. It is real.
Okay, you felt it. Well, feelings are great and all, but did you use it? Did you demonstrate it? Or does it start and end with you got a funny feeling that you could do it if you wanted to, and you just, don't want to give in to pride and prove it to yourself or anyone else?
Ephesians chapter 4 verse.
Before he could even say what verse it was, I'd skipped it. I went back to carefully drawing Fernandez's perky pinnules bulging out of his bikini.
God was calling me. It is my calling to be able to use the Hadoken. I remember before, at this time, I walked for miles to Walmart and back just to buy a pair of shoes.
Man, I sure hope it was a second pair of shoes.
It took 2 hours to walk there, and it took 2 hours from there to my home on foot. When I got home, when I was half awake and half asleep, I said the word Hadoken, and immediately my spiritual body shot a Hadoken in real life.
Oh my god, dude, that's dangerous. Like sleeping with your finger on the trigger of a gun. How much did the repairs cost? I hope it at least missed the water pipes and nobody got hurt.
I walk worthy of my calling of the Lord on the streets. Street fighter. Fight the good fight of faith.
So hey, since now we're deep into Street Fighter, does your spiritual body look like Ryu from Street Fighter or something? You know, just like how it used to look like Goku from Dragon Ball, and then it was Ichigo from Bleach.
I even saw my spirit look like Ryu from Street Fighter Alpha.
I was cooler than Ryu.
Path of Radiance. This path branches off from street fighting because I don't have a car.
Seems perfect. Don't remember the last time I saw a Street Fighter character in a car. Or at all, if I'm being honest.
I had to deal with the darkness of the streets. I live in the hood, so some of you know what I'm talking about. I had a car before, and it was easier to evangelize, but now I have to walk to the library to upload these videos with this giant laptop.
Huh. That is actually genuinely a shitty situation for someone trying to be a YouTuber. I have real sympathy for that. I'm sorry, man.
I've been doing this for years on foot, and I was meant to because I have become a light to this street. Matthew chapter 5 verse 16.
Was this all I was good for now? Looking up occasionally from my lewd drawings to skip a Bible verse. I hung my head. Nobody liked me. Everybody hated me. Guess I'd go eat worms. Hey, McPherson? My name was McPherson, oh, never mind. You okay there, buddy? I'm fine. I meant I was fine. I was always fine. I had no emotions except a boundless need for privately investigating. I know, man, you're cool as a cucumber, but I thought maybe you'd want to take us home here. You know, you haven't talked much, maybe you want to take over for the last little stretch? He didn't really mean that. He was teasing me. Alright, folks, I'm out. See you in the next one. Subscribe, like, Patreon, all that. I appreciate you for all that stuff and for just watching. See you later. He didn't really leave. As soon as I started talking, he was going to come back and hog the whole video. Any time now. Fernandez, you there? I said. Hey partner, what's kicking? He was back to his old self. Maybe he'd just been sick. Yeah, I had that new virus everyone's talking about. It turned me into a plant for a few minutes, but I'm alright now. You want a donut? No. I had work to do, but whatever Heart of Truth was saying was useless to me. I decided to ignore the rest and ask around, see what someone else had to say about him. Hey you, I said to a random passerby. What do you know about this Heart of Truth character? Turned out the random passerby was Charlie Chaplin. Chaplin replied, While I am somewhat jealous that you're an archangel, same as prophets among us being one and have powers, I believed the Lord revealed the meaning of my true name being Darkness Flees when I was spending time with him in my secret place in my mindscape. Hold up, I thought. There were other people involved in this? I thought Heart of Truth was operating alone. It wouldn't make sense for anyone else to take part in something so ridiculous. And yet, apparently, there were at least two. One was another archangel. I wondered if he was also multiple prophets from the nation of anime, and also a furry human kitty cat. Likely all that and more, I thought. The other one had a secret place in his mindscape that sounded cool, like a high-tech cave, just like the world's second greatest detective, the Batman, had. But it was probably just dope talk for imagination. He gave me a present and I opened it up and looked, and underneath the lid was the words "darkness flees." I do not know what word it actually is yet. My guess was it was 2 words. Darkness and fleas. LOL. Never mind. It was LOL. That must have been foreigner funny talk for darkness fleas. I believe that while each of us will have a glorified body, we each will have the same armor of God on, but we will have different powers and abilities, each unique to us alone. For you, it's your anime-esque abilities, which I may add there is always truth in fiction. Fiction may have reflected something of the human condition, but there was not always literal truth. If magic powers showed up in fiction, that didn't mean they were real, or even possible. I should have been surprised that he didn't ask for so much as a demonstration. I should have, but I wasn't. I was used to dealing with religion-addled godheads. For Michael, Moses, prophets among us, one of them is shooting fireballs from his hands? Fireballs from his hands. This Prophets Among Us character might warrant an investigation himself, I thought. But I was busy. Fernandez and I had to revert to our true anime forms and go on a hot date later. Maybe I'd refer the case to that Logicked guy. He seemed to know how 2 and 2 went together. Plus, he was really nice. I do not know if I am an archangel or a regular angel. Chaplin thought he was an angel too. Logicked had asked if Heart of Truth was playing a role. From the context, I'd guessed he meant the same way that little boys play cowboys and Indians. I agreed with him on one thing. I hoped that was all this was too. It was the least disturbing possibility, but I had a sinking feeling in the pit of my scrotum that there was more going on in these nuts' heads than just some childish games. But I believe the Lord's called me to the mantle of priesthood, and I believe he says I'm of the priesthood of Melchizedek, not as a high priest that Christ is, but as a simple priest. I was pretty sure that wasn't true, and he'd just made all these things up. I am unsure if this is true or not, for I could have just made all these things up. Well, at least he was still questioning it. I gave it a month before that stopped altogether. Heart of Truth replied, "Your gift from the Lord sounds cool." Chaplin's gift was a box with words in it. It didn't sound very cool, but he had a point. The gifts tended to sound cool with these people. Fireballs from hands, beams from hands, keyballs from hands, mostly a lot of things from hands. I suspected that the coolness was a big reason they picked these gifts. Every perfect gift is from the Father of lights above. We are all members of Christ, even though we have different skills and abilities, which is awesome. Like the X-Men. Surprisingly, I'd heard of the X-Men. After all, it was 2020, the 23rd century. The X-Men had been around for 300 years. And if I knew anything about the X-Men, it was that they left no doubt about their abilities. Every chance they got, they were zapping someone, lasering someone, slicing someone up with their claws. Real thugs. They tended to get noticed. These jokers, on the other hand, seemed to sit around writing YouTube comments and videos about their incredible power. None of them seemed to think it might be a wise idea to ask the other ones to show it. But if there's one thing you learn fast in my line of work, it's people are usually 100% truthful with themselves and with others, and they never say or believe anything false, ever. So I was convinced, and that concluded my case. Heart of Truth really was a superhero from anime. I was amazed, and I thought he was totally awesome. I wrote my findings down in my notepad and closed it. That was enough private investigation for the day. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. I was glad Logicked had given me the opportunity to wrap up my case. My client would pay well. I could finally get out of the business, disappear forever, go live someplace warm, on a beach. I was shot by the one person I never would have suspected. I struggled to say the name as he ran off into the night. Fernandez. Of course it had to end with betrayal and tragedy. In my line of work, it always ended that way. Nobody wanted to see an old dick. I wished I hadn't turned down that donut. I fell over and died.